Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we are on episode 265.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Like, I pulled some videos the other day, and I was looking at it, and it was like episode 241, some clips I was looking through. And like, I was like, man, a lot has happened in that amount of time. Like, we're at 265. Yes. It doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's like, that's a lot of time. Like, we've been doing this for a while. And this is our favorite type of episode because we are doing an update episode.
Well, it's interesting. You say a lot has happened. Imagine what's going to happen in the next 2 months. I think Q4 is going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be
good and bad. I don't think there's going to be like a mellow Q4 where it's like, things were okay.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, either we're going to have major shortage and we don't have enough inventory, or, you know, we're going to have enough inventory and there's not going to be any inventory on the shelves and resellers are going to make a killing. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Anyways, it is the update episode. A lot going on. I'll start first so we can end on a good note with you. So, you know, I struggle saying this because, again, I'm a big fan of eBay and I love eBay and eBay is great and I have an eBay tattoo and all that good stuff. But
you think he's lying? It's like, you know, right on the lower back, it says eBay.
Yeah, you got to catch our resale rep. I don't talk about an eBay tattoo though. I talk about some tattoo on my chest. So, anyways, if you don't know what we're talking about and you're new to our YouTube,
you got eBay tatted on your chest.
Yeah. Did I say that?
I think so.
I think that's what I said. So check out is it called the reseller rep?
Yeah, I mean it's that time, man. We should start blasting it on our social medias and get people going back to it because it is Q4.
What? Great call. I thought it was a great video. I mean, you have no idea the work Mike and I had to put into making that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it was work. We're talking about 8 to 10 hours probably, right?
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, that's a high quality music video. You know, like if we could put that out in 8 to 10 hours, that's not too bad.
And tomorrow, okay. And so it's going to be Thursday. So we do like a throwback Thursday, like check out one of our hits.
Yeah.
So maybe we could get it on iTunes. Anyways, all right. Hey, back to our update. So all that being said with eBay, I don't find that eBay is as consistent as Amazon. And what I mean is, so eBay, you can go in and you can check sold comps and you can check sell through, you know, how many you have listed and how many have sold. And, you know, you can go to Terapeak and you can do all this research. But I don't think any of that beats the bestseller rank on Amazon. Because the bestseller rank is a guarantee that this item will sell, right? As long as, you know, you have the best price, as long as Amazon doesn't hop on the listing, and, you know, even if there's a bunch of resellers, as long as you get that buy box for a moment, your item will sell.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's probably more consistent, but like you said, though, it's a guarantee unless it's not a guarantee, right? Like there's a lot of stipulations.
Agreed.
But it's true because a lot of times I've tried to use the eBay or the Amazon seller app to determine like, okay, what is this rank? Does it have a good ranking? And then try and flip it on eBay and it doesn't have the same velocity on eBay. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, those metrics are going to tell you how it's doing on Amazon, whereas it's not going to tell you on eBay. It's a little bit harder to find those kinds of metrics, you know, using Terapeak and stuff. But I mean, you could still get, you know, an idea of, is this a hot toy or is this a hot item? It could probably still do well on eBay, but you don't have the ease of access of what's this metric's going to be like.
Now, the reason I say that is because I'm not here to whine about eBay. What I'm here to talk about is adapting, right? So I'm at this point right now. I had a major haul. I had Hot Wheels. I had Disney. I've had other bunch of garage sale hauls, and I'm listing consistently. And I also have a helper that is listing consistently, but the sales have not been coming in comparison to last year. Now, you also got to remember last year we're in the middle of, you know, this thing that happened. And so as a result of that, sales were up across all platforms. I think this year, the sales will pick up once we get into like mid-November across all platforms, but it's not going to be like it was last year where we were looking at Christmas numbers from, I don't know, let's say April, May, all the way through like January, February. I mean, on every platform. And so for me, I've had to adapt because like I said, you know, I'm the only breadwinner in my family. I'm the only adult in my family, just me and my two boys. And so I can keep doing the eBay, but I need to have consistent cash flow coming in. And so right now I've switched up to Amazon. I thought I'd be, you know, going to garage sales a little bit more. I talked about the last update that I was looking forward to going to a couple more garage sales. I don't think I'm doing that anymore. I think I'm going to be done for garage sales right now until probably the end of December. just because, with Amazon, I'm picking up items right now. And like the other night, I went grocery shopping and I was in a big box store and there was this hot item and I was like, I just might as well check and see if it's there. Sure enough, there was 2 of them there. Put them in my cart. I listed them before my cart. On the way driving home, they both sold, and automatically I had $150 profit, right? And it didn't take much. I didn't have to create a new listing. I knew what was going to sell, and I got my money right away, right? And so, as a reseller, we have to adapt. Now, if you're not doing Amazon, that might mean cross posting. That might mean putting more on Poshmark, putting more on Depop, putting more on Grill, and all these others, so you have more eyes on your item. Okay, so there's various ways to adopt, but sometimes you have to make those choices. And if you remember from the podcast, when we started, like the early days, like episode 1 through 15, I was a big Amazon guy, right? That's what allowed me to go full time. eBay was like the steps that took me to understanding reselling and being a better reseller. But at that point in time, it was like 70-30. My income was coming from Amazon. And then over time, I flipped it that it was 70-30 eBay, but during Q4, I'm very Amazon heavy. And so, yeah, my eBay sales have been, just been rough. I made more money in August than I did in October. And I'm not sure why. If things are going like that for you, let us know in the comments. Or if you're like, hey, this is the best month ever, let us know in the comments. We always love to hear what people are doing. So there's that. And then, I'm listing everything from the hauls and I'm having so much fun, Mike. Like,
really? Fun listing?
Yeah, because
are you okay? Are you sick?
No. It's you hate listing. I like Netflix. I like to do Netflix and list like that. I just love it. Like even though
that's our next shirt, Netflix and list.
It is. It's true. I get a lot of work done. So, but what I love about it is, I'm learning so much about Hot Wheels. I'm learning so much about Disney stuff. What sells? What's good? What's collectible? What's not? And I, believe it or not, I don't talk about it a lot, but I am a car guy to a certain point. I can't fix a car, but I love cars. I mean, I was into car scenes back in the day. I just can never fix my car. I just pay people to do it. But, going through all these Hot Wheels has been pretty amazing. So again, I always push this. If you get a bulk buy and it's something you're not familiar with, take the time, like learn it, because from now on, guaranteed, if I'm somewhere and there's some Hot Wheel items that are money or Disney that are money, I'm going to swoop them up. Like before, I would have just passed them by. So yeah, that's been my life so far. How about you?
Yeah, so I kind of was hoping to do some garage sales the last couple of weeks, and this last weekend was a little bit rough. My pretty much my whole family kind of came down with a cold, and so my wife does so much with the kids. I mean, I work full time. I have the podcast that I do. I've got responsibilities at church, late nights at work, all these things, and so it's really tough when she takes on so much of those responsibilities. So when the kids are all sick and they have a little bit of a cold and nobody's sleeping well, I kind of feel bad leaving 4 a.m. on like the one day that I could help her. So, staying home and helping definitely cuts into reselling a little bit, but get that family time, and that's worth it, and it's valuable and it's necessary to help my family. And that's why I resell in the first place. Like I honestly, the money part, like I don't care about money as much as I care about what money can let me do. Money allows me to do things with my family. It allows my wife to stay home, like all of those things. So it's not the money I'm after, it's what the money can allow me to do. So I'm not going to give up those things. Like I want to be able to provide comfort for my family in order to go get money, So, but I've still been able to list. I've still been able to go up and get pictures and do those things and do a little bit of sourcing on OfferUp. So it hasn't been too bad for that. And then the other cool thing we just recently started is those YouTube shorts, right?
Yeah.
So we both have been, posting up some YouTube shorts. So if you haven't checked those out yet, and it's a little weird. So if you click on them and you don't click on it through the shorts, you're not on like using YouTube shorts. If you just click on it on our page, it kind of comes up a little funny. But like if you don't know, if you're not using YouTube shorts, it's basically TikTok. Like that's kind of what I feel like YouTube shorts is.
Or Instagram Reels.
Yeah. It's like they all have it now. And so we've been trying to do some YouTube shorts, but it's just been kind of fun to like find some different ways of like giving out some information. Like here's a bolo, here's something I found, here's a cool way to clean this. So that's kind of, I think you were the one that used the term, and I think it's right. It's like reinvigorated. Like it's kind of like exciting, like again to like, oh, let's do this. Cause sometimes you feel like, do people even care about?
I burned out on TikTok, man. I was done.
So it's kind of nice to be able to do some stuff and see that, like, so if you haven't subscribed to us, if you're just listening on the podcast and you haven't subscribed on YouTube, because maybe you're like, well, I already listened to the podcast. Well, we have our Monday minis. We have Saturday videos that we put up too. we're also doing little YouTube shorts, right? So it's a cool way to get some extra content from Pure Hustle Podcast if you're looking into that. One thing that I will say though is you mentioned eBay's been down. eBay's been really up for us.
Yeah,
you know, so
I believe it.
So we've had some crazy sales. I mean, my wife texted me the other day and I was at work, and we had a couple sales in the morning when I was getting ready to go to work. And then I like look at my phone and she's like, holy cow, eBay. And I look and it's like, we had like 8 or 9 sales and they were all like items between like $80 to $200. And I'm like, what in the world is happening? Right. So, you know, part of that has just been listing a little bit more and getting some good sales. So that's been really nice. But I have been reminded that as much as I like sourcing on OfferUp because I can get some good things, I hate selling locally. Like the nice thing with selling locally is it's cash in hand.
I thought I was the only one because whenever I say stuff like that, people are like, people agree with me, but I always feel like I'm the only one.
No, and here's the thing. Like it's very, the nice thing is it's cash in hand. You're not waiting for anything. You're not paying fees, right? You're like, I'm selling this for $50. I'm going to get $50, right? Like you don't have to worry about shipping fees. You don't have to worry about refunds. You like all of those things. Like it's really nice. But the hard part is, you know, I'm at work. And so I've got like, you know, set schedule and people are like, oh, can I come get this thing? And it's like, well, I'm at work right now. And, you know, I live pretty far away from where you are. So unless you want to drive out when I get off, and they're like, no. And it's like, well, I can bring it and meet you after I get off work. And they're like, well, these 2 days don't work for me. How about this day? And I'm like, nope, that's the weekend. And you can come to me, right? Like, so you're just like this back and forth and trying to like meet up with somebody. And again, it can be worth it. So I typically only do local sales if it's a really big item or it's really, really profitable item. Like I will definitely meet up with somebody to sell some weights that I'm going to make, you know, a couple $100 on or $100 on because I'm not shipping those. I don't want to ship them because I'm not going to make as much money and I'm going to have all those fees and all those things. And it's a good enough profit. It's a big item. So those are kind of my my limits there, but it does kind of stink when you're like trying to work. Now, if I had a normal house that was in the city, probably be fine, but I'm in a fifth wheel out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And so people don't meet us there. Like we have to find a time to meet them at like, you know, Carl's Jr. or something, you know, or a bank. So it's selling locally is definitely not as nice as sourcing locally. So that's just kind of how my week has been of like sick kids, dealing with trying to meet up with people, local sales, which is really annoying, and YouTube shorts.
Well, you got to think of the time that it takes to do the local deal. Like I rather, you know, let's say it's a big item, right? And you're like, oh, I don't want to sell this locally. Like, remember I had that Little Tykes football toys chest, right? Right. So it's about the size. It's a little bit less than the table in front of us, but it's like as tall as a table. And locally, yeah, it would have been nice, right? You know, $150 cash in hand, you know, but driving out there, the gas, everything you had mentioned, where all I had to do is get a big enough box, tape it, weigh it, and drop it off at UPS way faster than it would have been trying to sell that locally. So I agree with you. Hey, before we move on though, we also had something else happen this last week. We had our third Buy Me a Coffee virtual meetup.
Yeah, we had our little Zoom meet, and that was really sweet. Like I like doing those because we have some new people to the Zoom meet that haven't joined.
Always
before.
Learning from everyone in the Zoom.
And then we've had some people who've come to all 3 of them so far. Or is this our 4th one? It might be our 4th one. But either way, so we've done 3 or 4 of them. And the cool thing is, yeah, like sometimes we start off and we're like, hey, here's some things we want to talk about. But then we just kind of like let the conversation go. And we end up, like learning so much from other people and hearing their stories and like getting inspiration. Sometimes it's just the motivation of like, wow, like that's so cool that you're doing that. And so, again, if you haven't signed up for Buy Me a Coffee, you don't have to. Of course, like our content is always free. We don't charge for any of our content. But it is a cool way for you to support us and say like, hey, Pure Hustle Podcast, Mike and Orlando, thanks so much for, you know, what you're doing. You know, we want to support you. You can support us by leaving a comment, by subscribing, by giving us a review on iTunes, or financially and saying like, hey, we want to help make it worth your time for putting out these episodes. So, you know, we typically ask for like $5 a month for the subscription on Buy Me a Coffee. And we don't provide any extra content for that other than, you know, once a month or so, we get a chance to meet with some of our listeners and we do a Zoom. It's usually about a half hour or so. And it's just a talk. It's just, we're hanging out, we're chilling. It's not like secret content, but it's just a cool way to say thank you to those of you who are supporting us. So again, thank you to all of you who do that. And if you can't do that, if you're like, hey, like I'm trying to make ends meet, I've listened to your level up reviews. Like I don't have any subscriptions. Cool. Totally get it. Leave us a review on iTunes or something like that. And that will mean the world to us also.
Yeah. So again, buymeacoffee.com/purehustle, and you can sign up for that membership, and it always helps us out. And we love what we do. So there you go. All right. So what are some random stories on your end?
So I kind of have an interesting one. I should have mentioned this a few weeks ago now because it was a while ago. So my wife messaged me because she deals with most of the eBay messages and stuff we get because she kind of does like that part of our business. And she messaged me and she goes, "Hey, you need to check out this message. It's somebody from the podcast." And I'm like, "Oh man." Oh. So I look at it and sure enough, like somebody found one of my items in the store and noticed a mistake in my listing, right? So I had an old school like a VHS recorder, like handheld, camera listed as, instead of recorder, it was listed as reporter. So it must have been just like we were doing it on the phone and it auto-corrected to reporter instead of recorder. And, this person was super nice. They're like, "Hey, like, this might affect you. Also want to say thanks for the podcast." And so it was just really cool to like be able to, have that conversation with that person. They provided me some help, right? Like sometimes you get people, just buyers who are like, "You listed this wrong." But it's cool to have somebody like actually just legitimately wanting to help you. Like, there was no like ulterior motive other than just like, "Hey, by the way, you might want to change this listing." And then also to get that support of like, "Thanks for the podcast." So that was cool. No,
that's awesome. I had somebody I had a buckle and it wasn't a listener, but I had somebody message me. I had a buckle that was for North Dakota, but I had labeled as South Dakota.
You could probably make some people mad.
I didn't know that. So the person messaged me and they're like, "Hey, just a heads up, this is actually a North Dakota buckle and you have South Dakota." I'm like, "Oh, so sorry. Thanks for the heads up. I'll fix this." I fix it. And he's like, "Yeah, just to let you know, like, some of us take this pretty serious. I'm from North Dakota and we don't like seeing that." And I was like, "Whoa,
some bad blood there, man."
I didn't know that. Like, it's not like that out here in California. But then again, we're kind of soft out here in California. It depends where you're from, though.
Yeah,
West Coast.
I was gonna say, like, if you use the wrong zip code or the wrong area code, people might be like,
the wrong set.
No, man. We're 619 out here. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I was 415, but yeah, okay.
Okay, so but this is the same thing, right? Like, there's a little bit of, like, don't get us confused.
Okay, all right, okay, all right. So, hey, a quick update on my lost package. Remember, I talked about last time how priority was going to take 3 to 4 weeks. It did. It took 3 weeks, and the item arrived. So, if you remember from the last update episode, the post office was like, "Yeah, even though it's priority, we can't guarantee in 3 to 4 days. It might be 3 to 4 weeks." And it was 3 to 4 weeks. But here's my suggestion. As long as you can, stall and make sure you're in contact with eBay. Let them know what's going on. Usually they'll open a case and you're going to have to like either upload your tracking or send a message to the buyer. I always say, message them, "Hey, I'm not sure what happened. I'll look into it." And do look into it. Ask the post office. Usually the post office will tell you, it's in transit and here it is. And then just message them back, say it'll take some time. Make sure eBay knows, because if they open the case, that case can close. And you don't want that because that'll end up as a defect on your eBay metrics. And you do not want that. So stall it out. But luckily it worked out. Now, I learned something new and I'm hoping it's legit. And you're like, should I share on the podcast? But so I had an interesting scenario. I have had some bad buyers, man. I think one of the reasons I've had slow sales, I keep getting slammed with returns. And
yeah, returns definitely slow down I feel like.
But they're like, so I had somebody that I sold 2 pairs of shoes to. They were brand new. And I thought they're fine. They're brand new. I tested them. Everything was great. Shipped them out. 3 weeks into wearing these shoes, I get this message: "Hey, the leather is peeling. The sole is separating. What can we do to resolve this?" I know whenever people tell me that, they're looking for a partial refund. But I always say, ask for a return and then you'll refund them. So I message, I'm like, "Hey, sorry, things didn't work out. You're welcome to return it for a refund." I didn't say full refund. I just said for a refund. So the person waits, right? And it's like day 28 of almost 30 days, to return things. And then on the other pair of shoes, they send me the same message. And so it extends the return window on that pair of shoes. And so then eBay was asking me to send them a label because I shipped both pairs of shoes in one medium flat rate, and I just used the tracking number twice. which I wouldn't do that, but eBay needs to fix have you ever done the combined shipping? Like you can combine it if it's the same buyer, but it doesn't give you the option of a medium flat rate. It just charges you priority, which ends up being more. So, I took care of that. I called eBay and eBay's like, well, just let us know. I don't know, you could resolve this, but instead of providing them a label, because they asked for a second label because it was a second pair of shoes. And I guess eBay didn't pick up that I shipped them in the same box. So eBay just said, hey, just email us, and then gave me an email us the new label, and we'll cancel both labels. And that's going to be the label we send to the buyer. Now, I started thinking about this. Like, this person wore these shoes for 28 days, and now, like, maybe they went hiking with these shoes. Maybe they did something crazy. So I'm like, I wonder if eBay would back me. And what I mean by back me is, like, as a top rated seller who offers 30-day returns, I can do a partial refund. And so I called eBay. I'm like, hey, listen, this person has been wearing these shoes for, almost a month. Just now they want to return it. And these shoes are brand new. What happens if I do a partial refund? Will I get a negative feedback? Well, what if the buyer is really angry at me? And what they said is, due to the fact that you offer free returns, you're protected. I was like, what? Seriously? I mean, we've known about that 30-day return is not free, gives you protections, but I felt like doing the free ups you in the protection. I don't know. I mean, this could have been one rep, but this was concierge. So they're pretty knowledgeable in the concierge world. And so again, I encourage you guys, be top rated seller. And if it's items that, you don't mind risking it, free returns definitely will go a long way. So I now felt more emboldened because I had another crazy buyer. So you ever get the message, hey, is your item authentic? Those are like, they're trouble. But whatever, I rolled with it, right? So they sent me a decent offer. It was a hoodie, and I shipped it out. And then I get a message, and they said they put their hands in the pockets, and their hands broke through the pockets. And this was a quality name brand. The only reason I don't bring it up is because, they're not a fan of resellers, so I'm not bringing it up. Okay. So I'm like, okay, it was fine when I shipped it out. Actually, it was a hoodie that I sold before that somebody returned, and that person had no problems with it.
Maybe they cut some holes in the pockets.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they did, right? So then I'm like, I'm going to use the knowledge that eBay gave me, and I'm going to tell this person, you can return it for a partial refund. And I knew the smoke was coming. So I said that, and they're like, how? Why? Like, this is obviously not great quality. And I just messaged back and I said, listen, I shipped this out in the condition that everything was intact. Everything was fine. I don't know what happened, but I need to assess it. So if you can send it back to me, we could talk about a refund once I get it back. You know what I got after that? Crickets. The wall came up and the wall worked. So anyways, do what you will with that advice. But, it was nice because I really felt like I was getting slammed with just craziness like that. I sent a brand new item, brand new. And they're like, oh, this isn't charging. I'm like, what? Now, do I believe it was a scammer that was returning their old item and bought a new item from me? No, I don't believe that. But, you just got to be careful out there. So
you never know.
All right. So those are our random stories. Do you have more to share?
No.
Nope. Okay. Hey, before we move on, hopefully that helped you guys. Let us know in the comments. Do you ever have buyers that buy brand new stuff and you offer partial refund? What has been the result? Really interested. All right. Hey, I just want to talk about one of our awesome sponsors, AmericanBowlBoy.com. Actually, in our Zoom that we had with our Buy Me a Coffee members, one of them had mentioned that, Amazon was having a shortage on bubble wrap. And that one of their friends had ordered bubble wrap and it's been 3 weeks and they didn't get it, but they went through AmericanBowlBoy.com and they got it in about 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's fast. It's good quality. And again, in that Zoom meeting, some other people are giving other tips of ways of getting bubble wrap. And, if you've got ways of getting it, you're willing to find some other sources. But the nice thing is, like everything, if you're willing to and you're really not paying up because you're getting a good price. But if you want the comfort and the convenience of knowing you're going to get great bubble wrap at an incredible price sent to your door, you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to, have coworkers holding it for you, anything like that. And you're just going to get some good bubble wrap at a good price right to your door. Use American Bubble Boy. We haven't had, I think we've had a couple of people who've been like, I've heard, some people have said like, I've heard that they weren't good, but I don't think we've had anybody who's bought from American Bubble Boy.
We buy all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll always buy AmericanBubbleBoy.com.
Yeah. We haven't had anybody who's actually bought and said, I had bought it and it was bad. So it's great bubble wrap. We use it consistently. And with the holidays coming up and supply chains and shipping and all of that stuff getting harder, you might want to make sure you're stocked up on it ahead of time because even though they'll get it to you, I mean, we've talked about we're shipping stuff out and sometimes the USPS or the post office or UPS is saying, 2 weeks on something that should be only a couple of days. So you don't want to be stuck in that situation where you're buying last minute because you're getting a bunch of sales and you're late. You're delayed because of shipping. You're delayed because of the post office. So order now, get your bubble wrap so that you're ready for Q4.
So again, AmericanBubbleBoy.com, and our promo code is Puroso. Let's make sure we're clear here.
Yeah, you always laugh when you say our.
Do I really?
Yeah, it's Pure Hustle Podcast, all one word, lowercase. That's our promo code. I think there's also a link in the description that you can.
Well, use. I have a special promo code that uses my name, but that's only under special circumstances.
Oh, well, then why are we even talking about it?
Just because that's why I laugh, because it's a funny one. But anyways, does it really matter? Okay. Anyways, those of you that know, and it's not any more of a discount. If you ever have an issue, I'm not like the customer service of American Bubble Boy, but I want to resolve things for you and I'll help you out.
Yeah. Going back to our last episode, right? Like we don't shill anything that we don't believe in, right? So if you got an issue, we're gonna stand behind the product, right? Like we're gonna stand behind the products that we're advertising. So yeah, we'll definitely go to bat for you if you have a bad experience, which you won't. You're gonna have a good experience.
100%. All right. If you haven't yet, make sure you're following us on social media. We are Puroso Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We are bringing back TikTok here slowly but surely. I feel like TikTok's more and more like on the news. Is it just me?
Well, I mean, the news is catching up to what the younger generation's been doing for months. You know what I mean? It's like
for years,
but it's like you can't look at that as like it's getting popular because it's like if you're a grandparent's like there's this thing called Facebook.
But were people doing that with Vine like 8 years ago? Were people like on the news talking about Vines?
Yeah, I mean it's a little different, but Vines changed culture. It completely changed like that generation for sure. And the thing is, the news just didn't. They weren't hip to it,
which is an old term too. All right. Hey, we're also Puroso Cast on Twitter and Clubhouse. You can always give us a call if you want. Our number is 619-738-1170, 619-738-1170. Even if it's just questions, we have a Q&A episode that we're planning here in about a month or so. And so if you want to, just call us and leave us some questions that we can play on air and we can answer, we'd love to do that. You could also shoot us an email, purosopodcast@gmail.com. That's purosopodcast@gmail.com. And if you've been listening to the podcast but haven't checked us out on YouTube, make sure to come on over, subscribe to our YouTube, smash that like button, hit that bell notification so you're notified. When you're notified, anytime we drop a YouTube short or any kind of video. I know.
It's all right.
I know. It's a good episode. All right. And iTunes reviews, always appreciate them. We always, read them every once on air, but we're at over 500. They help us out a lot. We are the number one rated YouTube and reselling podcast on iTunes. And so does that make sense?
Yeah, you said YouTube, but we're the number one reselling podcast on iTunes.
There you go. So, and those reviews definitely help us. Even if you just put a thumbs up, the like, or whatever, the 5 stars, whatever it is, always helps us out.
It's like the most confusing.
I am having a rough time right now.
Could you please thumbs up us on iTunes? That's not a thing. No, swipe left. Like, nope, wrong app. Okay, 5-star review, please.
Well, it's like the other day I was trying to make a YouTube short and a TikTok. And so on TikTok, it's make sure to like and follow. On YouTube, it's make sure to like and subscribe. And so that's been my issue. You got to figure out what platforms, so. Yeah. All right. Hey, you know what? Let's move on to something better. Let's go to our BOLOs.
BOLOs. We got reselling topics.
Oh,
man.
Should we just edit we should just edit this out.
No, it's in there. We got to keep it real. This is how organic it is.
This is a rough episode.
All right. So we've got our news section coming up here.
I haven't had dinner yet.
Toys are getting lost. Prices are peaking for the holiday and shipping is getting harder. There's changes in the reselling world and we're going to be talking about them now. Orlando, take it away.
All right. So, it's interesting because eBay stock is doing really well right now. It's like at 80. I think the whole stock. Here's the thing. Stock market is irrational. Like it shouldn't be where it's at. Like, I don't know if you've been catching Tesla. Tesla's like over 1,000 now. But eBay's doing really well. And, I wanted to share this because I wanted you guys to understand, and we've talked about this before, that eBay, in my opinion, is shifting how they do things. I had a real strong sense under the former CEO that they were trying to be more like Amazon. Mm-hmm. Now I'm getting a very strong sense that, I'm trying to be careful what I say here. Not that, we love eBay. They know we love them, but I don't know if they're as focused as I would like them to be on allowing sellers to keep their profit margins. And this is why. So let me share with you the earnings report. So eBay did well. Okay. So eBay, let me take, this is from Market Watch. And so eBay exceeded expectations with its financial results Wednesday, but its shares fell 6.3% in after hours trading after the company's forecast for the holiday period came up short. Okay, so let me talk about why that happened. So the company posted their third quarter income from continuing operations of $283 million or 43 cents a share, down from $605 million, blah, blah, we could read all that. But here, let's go. Revenue rose to $202.5 billion from $2.26 billion, while analysts were expecting $2.46 billion. So you're like, all right, that's good, right? That's promising, okay? And so take a look at this next part. The company continues to make progress with this managed payments initiative as it looks to have greater control over the payments process on its platform. During the third quarter, eBay saw more than 90% of its global on-platform volume take place through its managed payments offering, up from 71% in the second quarter. More than 18 million sellers have migrated over to managed payments. All right, so that's not bad, right? So you're like, okay, things are good, right? And so then you try to take a look, okay, where's all the revenue from? Is it coming from sales? Where is it coming from? All right. So gross merchandise volume. Okay. That's me and you. That's every seller. It's how much we're selling, how much eBay is selling via its sellers. Gross merchandise volume, the total dollar value of sales on eBay from which the company takes a percentage, fell 10%. And from that is a lot.
So they grew by like $0.24 billion, but their gross went down 10%. Now, I think have looked at the negative side of this and said, this is because they're charging sellers more, right? The fees are higher. But the other thing you're mentioning with the managed payments is they are potentially keeping more of the profit per sale, not just because they're increasing fees, which I think fees have increased a little bit. But I think part of it could be that their arrangement with PayPal, right? Like maybe eBay wasn't making as much money off the fees as they are now, right? So because they own the system, managed payments, it's them, they potentially, just like if you go through a third party person, like if you use, the old before Venmo and stuff, what was it, like the Square? Square took a percentage, right? So if you had your own managed payment system, you could charge the same amount, but you'd be keeping that percentage instead of that percentage going to Square. So it makes sense potentially with managed payments that they're making a little bit more of the profit. However, we also know that a lot of those profits, I don't know what that percentage is, but is coming from increased sales. Increased fees.
Let me share some of that. So this is from Yahoo Finance, but a strong showing by its payment services and the expansion of its advertising portfolio drove an 11% jump in revenue. That was better than expectations. Okay, now let's talk about directed promoted listings. eBay's promoted listings offering. Now, this isn't even this. Remember, these are Q3 results, right? So we're not even talking about promoting listings advanced. We're just talking about standard, the way it used to be. We're not talking about pay-per-click. eBay's promoted listing offerings generate $207 million in revenue during the period, up 12% from a year earlier and up 9% when excluding currency impacts. Right. So their revenue, right, it keeps growing when it comes to promoted listings. I can only imagine that it's going to go way higher once we get pay-per-click. But it is concerning to me because so we're paying more, right? I mean, I think it's, especially if you're in the retail arbitrage space or you're selling new items, that to be competitive, I mean, and it happens on Amazon too, you need to do pay-per-click. But I do get the sense that for anytime eBay rolls something out, whether it be promoted listings, item specifics, whatever it is, because it's their sandbox, they want you doing those things and they will push you up higher in the search. So my concern is that, eBay isn't making as much in sales. Now that could be because, it's not the same thing as last year, right? Because it's a different time. Yeah. But at the same time, the more the revenue is coming from managed payments, advertising, promoted listings, pay-per-click, and all that stuff.
Yeah, it reminds me of the school that Orlando and I used to work at together, where he was the VP and I was a teacher. One of the things that would come up, because it was a private school, was there's really two ways to increase the budget, to get more money in the school. One way is to get more bodies in the door, right? If you get more students, you get a few more students per classroom, that's more tuition, you make more money. The other way is to keep the same number of students, but raise tuition across the board, right? Both things are going to bring in more money for the school. I think it's the same thing with eBay. eBay has two options for making money because they make money on the fees, right? Like that's how they make money. So they've got two options. Option one is the get more bodies in the door option, which is sell more things. So if they did however many billions of dollars in gross sales, do more than that, right? Like have more people buying on eBay and charge the same fee percentage. Option two is sell the same amount of things on your platform or fewer things, but charge more per thing. We obviously hope that they go with the first one, right? That they're marketing in a way, they're doing things in a way where they're going to get more people. Now, I think we'd all be okay with them doing both if we saw that there was a 10% increase in buyers on eBay. So we were selling 10% more of our goods on a regular basis, but the fees went up 1% or 2%, right? It'd be like, that's a little bit of a bummer. But the fact that there's so many more buyers on eBay that they're using that money. So like, I guess that's my concern. Are they going to use this money and get greedy and basically say, well, if we increase the fees again next year, we'll make even more, as opposed to now, how do we spend this money that we've made to get more buyers on eBay, right? Because that's what we want. Yeah. We need more buyers on eBay. So if we can find ways, and I think that it's going to come down to, can they market the younger generation? I think that they're primed for the picking. We talk about them thrifting right now. The thrift stores didn't have to do any marketing. It's just culture has shifted that way. Now, if eBay can jump on that and market to the Gen Zers and the millennials and basically say, look at how good this is. Look at these things that you can get. Look at these retro items that you can get. You can be unique. You can save the environment by not, having new things made. If they were like marketing that, like maybe even like save the trees, right? Like buy used. If they were doing those types of things to get that younger generation onto eBay, we'd be in such a better place.
I agree. I mean, it seems right now, I mean, they've done a great job with the sneaker, authenticity guarantee, and they've done some great sneaker commercial and so on. But I still think, there's a lot to be left, And again, we're not marketing experts. We're just observing, what we observe on the daily. And, I'm paying a lot more to eBay than I was 10 years ago. And I know there's inflation, there's all that. But I'm saying, 10 years ago, I didn't have to do any kind of promoted listings.
Yeah. And with inflation, we'd expect to see that the gross volume of sales would be up, that the
correct.
So we'd expect to see that. So it should be going up in line with the fees.
Yeah. And again, I'm not one of those people that are on those forums that, are like, I hate eBay and it's the worst. No, I love eBay, but I'm really hoping that things begin to steer a little bit more. And I've talked about before about, just basic things, right? Like, for example, like if we're out of stock on an item, right? The only option is one, to get the buyer to cancel it. The other option is put something that was wrong with the address, or one, put out of stock. If we put out of stock, we're automatically dinged with the defect, right? But if a buyer chooses to cancel a sale, they've made way more accommodations over the last few years. Now they get, even though they keep promising automatic payments, they're still not doing that. Now their messages, I shared this before on the podcast, it's like, hey, you have 4 days to pay for this. And then even if they don't pay, I get a message from eBay that I canceled the sale and I can relist it. And so there is no negative impact on the buyer, which is fine. And maybe there's like 2 strikes or whatever that is. But on our end, it'd be nice if, you're an experienced seller and you've been top rated and you've been doing this for a few years, that you're given like, a handful of, hey, I can put out of stock and it's not going to affect my metrics because I'm a good seller. Like, just, okay, so maybe, we need to be charged more money for selling on eBay. But maybe on the other end, you could give us, some incentives to continue selling on the platform and being a good seller. So there you have it. All right, I found this news story that was kind of interesting. So I keep saying this: sell now, because you don't know what's going to happen. Now, I know a lot of people on Instagram have told me we're holding. Like, some people are saying they're holding, they're waiting for the empty shelves in the November, and that may happen. But there's another part of me. You have our current president talking about using the Coast Guard to help the port, and then there's this story here where. These two new stories came out on the same day. Hasbro, toy maker, said that they're ready to go, that everything is in on time, and they're going to be fine. And then the next news story is Hasbro takes a $100 million hit as supply chain disruptions delay toys. Same day, but different story. But here's the thing: this is where resellers fill in the gap. But let's say that were to happen. Let's say right now there's a bunch of gaps. And people are panicking and they're going like, what am I going to do for Christmas? What if there's, not enough toys? I'm going to buy now. And then you hold. And then it's like 1st of December. And for whatever reason, there's the Christmas miracle and all the shelves are stocked. It's going to be rough. Now,
I like that idea. Is Santa going to make it to all of the Targets and Walmarts across the nation on Christmas Eve and restock the shelf so that parents can go out and buy toys for their kids?
Yeah, it's
a Christmas miracle.
So
you walk into a Target and they got your toys. I just think, remember Jingle All the Way, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
Yeah.
I feel like this year's going to be Jingle All the Way with a lot of toys. People are going to be losing their minds.
But I'd be careful. We don't know what's up ahead. I mean, we live in such uncertain times right now. And prices are going high. I mean, the money you're getting paid now for items might be worth more than what you're getting paid in 2 months, right? Because this inflation, even though we were told that it was transitory, it's not transitory. It's going to stay. I don't know for how long, but yeah. Anyways, before
without getting too far into that too, typically, because again, a lot of the people who want to say like there's no inflation, those oftentimes tend to be the same people who are like against like the multi-billionaires and the people who are like very wealthy. But the reality is the wealthiest, the elites in the country that seem to be running a lot of things kind of behind the scenes, they want inflation. The wealthiest of the wealthy do well with inflation. They don't want deflation. Deflation would be terrible for them, even though for the average person, it'd be fine because your money becomes worth more. They are able to leverage inflation in a way where they're taking out loans. The loans become almost worthless in the future and they're buying real property. So whereas the typical person is buying things, they're buying things like real estate. They're buying things that like inflation is only going to help them. So because they're able to get more money at a price, they can leverage it, and then they're getting real estate that 10 years from now is going to be worth even more, and their loans are almost nothing. Like, so the wealthiest of the wealthy want inflation to an extent. I mean, not to the point where it ruins the country, but that's why I don't see deflation probably happening.
Yeah, and not to get into an econ lesson, but inflation happens when there's too much of money supply or there isn't enough supply, right? And so it's they both go hand in hand. So if we have inflation and we get a ton of product, ton of inventory that comes in, prices are going to drop, right? And then we're going to have inflation because the money's going to be moving faster and people are going to be buying. So you just got to be careful. Again, I'm selling when I can because I don't know what is going to happen in the next few days here. All right. Hey, by the way, be aware if you're doing free shipping, USPS, now FedEx just announced they're doing their peak holiday shipping.
Yeah, this is their special time of year where they're slower to ship and they charge you more for it.
There you go.
It's like such a sweet deal.
So if you're doing free shipping, just be careful. And if you're doing, you charge your buyer shipping, you should be okay, but make sure it's calculated because even myself, I do a lot of flat rate and I think I charge like $11.99 for flat rate, and which was fine when it was like 13 something. Now it's like 1407 for a medium flat rate, and it's costing me more. So be careful on that. All right, I thought this was a story I wanted to share. So one of our followers from day one, I think day one, maybe not, I don't know. She's also on our show. I need to pull up what episode, because she's a great reseller, and she's doing a lot in the shoe game right now. I think when we talked to her, it was a lot about Amazon and private label, and she's kind of switched up what she does. She's doing shoes, and so she had a story that I wanted to share. Sorry about that. Those listening on podcasts, I'm trying to type into YouTube and be on the mic at the same time, and I am struggling. But so she has been selling, a lot of shoes, and some of these shoes are over $100. And so that whenever shoes are over $100, they don't go directly to the buyer. Instead, they go to eBay's authenticity guarantee section. I'm looking for the episode, and I think I mistyped it in here, but it's all right. We'll find it later. So anyways, what ended up happening is that as you send it to the person, usually, they're expecting you to ship out things in pristine condition, including the box. So Resellicious on Instagram, I had shared the story on her stories, and I asked her for permission to share this. So sometimes, you get a huge lot of shoes, and when you get, a huge lot of shoes, you get some boxes that are dinged, right? Or maybe on a bulk buy, you get dinged because you have, some shoes that are like, the boxes are scrunched, in the pallet or wherever you buy it. And so when that happens, right, you can still sell those shoes on eBay for over $100 with the box. But what happened to her is that the box had a couple dents and a couple wrinkles. And so, she shipped it out, thought everything was fine, did take a couple pictures, had mentioned, in the description that the box had some wear, and the shoes never got to the buyer because it ended up getting rejected by eBay authenticity guarantee. And the reason it got rejected was they said the box was worn and it had problems. And so she lost the sale. She wasn't able to communicate. You can't even communicate with the buyer after that point. And so it was done. So when she posted this on Instagram, a lot of people reached out to her, and the consensus was, if you sell shoes in a box that's worn and it's over $100, what you need to do is put like sticky notes or put a note or put, something in there that lets the eBay personnel know that the box is damaged and that you took pictures and you put that in the listing. And if you do that, then everything should work out, because obviously the buyer already knew that because you took care of that in the listing. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So, I thought that was good info, just because I've had it in the past where I've sent out stuff and the box was worn. I didn't really even think about it. Luckily, I think those were before the eBay authenticity guarantee, so I was okay. But the worst thing is, you sell a pair of shoes and it's like $300 and the box is a little dinged, and then it gets sent back to you, and then you're kind of stuck with it, and you could have had that $300 sale. So I don't want people to miss out on that at all. So did you find that episode at all?
I didn't. No.
Man, it's here's what's interesting is that
I don't know if we actually had that person on.
We did. What? No, we had her on. It was one of the last few. We got to do interview. Let us know in the comments. Should we do interviews again? So is this one where we couldn't get video and we just went podcast on it?
I don't know. We everything's up on YouTube that we did. So
all right. Anyways, if I remember during this podcast, I will interrupt the podcast.
All right. There you go.
So all right. So that is our reseller topics.
Yeah. And that means we're going to be moving on to our next part. Before we do, we're huge fans of Skull Shaver. Skull Shaver is a great product. We use it on our head. Today I had a kid, as I was standing outside and opening the door for kids to walk in. I had a kid go, "Mr. Clean." Nice. I was like, I guess I'll take that as a compliment. I don't know. He seems to be like a pretty cool guy, Mr. Clean. But I got the bald head going on, but that just goes to show that with a Skull Shaver, I can get my head to the point where people think I'm like Mr. Clean, shiny head. So Skull Shaver is a great product. We use it. It's quick, it's fast, it's efficient. And the price, it's one of those things where I like to buy things in the price range of like the middle of the road, like good quality, right? Like I feel like you can buy a cheap car, you can buy a middle of the road car, or like a nice car where it's like you're paying up a little bit, but things are going to be better in there. Or you can buy like the $200,000 car that's not going to do any better than a $30,000 car, you know? And I feel like you can get products where you're spending thousands of dollars for things. I feel like the skull shaver is one of those items where you pay more. You can go to Walmart and buy like a shaver and you're going to pay $30 for it. And you're going to be buying a new one in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and it's not going to work very good. And by the time you've bought your 10th one, you're like, I should have just gone with the nicer thing. And that's how I feel with skull shaver. Like sometimes it is worth it paying up a little bit to get a good product that is going to last. We've been using ours for a couple of years now, right? Like it's been a while that we've been using skull shaver.
Oh, that's awesome.
So definitely check out skull shaver, promo code PURE, and you'll get a nice little discount. Lets them know that we sent you, and you won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Before you go to the Bolos, I found the episode. You know why I couldn't see it? It's because she's the only one that we don't have her face on the thumbnail. So yeah, it is episode 219, Resellicious interview. She's also on Instagram, so check her out. All right.
Yeah, a lot has happened. 219.
I know, but we have like a ton of episodes after that. Yeah. All right, it's time for
Bolo.
What's your Bolo?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like that's the kind of, we did a Monday mini. And I was like, man, we need somebody to help us make like a cool little like Monday mini, like something, but like not that, because that just sounds like my old school Bolo one. But like something that's like super legit. So if you're good at making little stingers like that, you know, hit us up. All right. Orlando, what's your Bolo?
All right. So mine is really it's an interesting one. Just because I get a lot of people, and we did a video about how to find, toys, whatever, for retail arbitrage. And this is going to be super vague and generic because, and a lot of you that listen, you're like, Orlando, do not give us a retail arbitrage Bolo because it'll kill the market. So I always want to help people out. So what I will say is this: look for anything. You tell me if this is terrible. If you're out there retail arbitraging for Q4, look for anything that is related to the hot item of last year, right? So let's say they were fingerlings. Okay. Let's say that was a hot item. Look for like fingerlings part 2, or look for the fingerlings. If they were, I don't know, let's say there were some form of, Fisher Price, like little people thing that was a hot item. Okay. See if there's a new release of that, right? Or let's say, some of the hot ones, like Coco Melon. Does your son watch Coco Melon?
He's watched a few of them. I like to put on Coco Melon for my students before class starts. They're sixth graders and they laugh. They think it's funny that some of them cringe, but like it's the, it's the cringy thing to do, but Coco Melon.
All right. So like last year, Coco Melon was fire. Like just the bedtime, sleepy pajama, whatever, Coco Melon. And this year it's on the shelves, but there might be something related to that. Now, I haven't found the Bolo related to Coco Melon, so I don't, I have no problem sharing this. I'm going to laugh if tomorrow I go and I find one that's related to it, but
Coco Melon.
But hopefully this helps you out when you're trying to do retail arbitrage. Because here's the thing, you can look at a ton of toys, but I find that this method at least lets you, find at least one or two that, one might be super profitable, or you'll make a little bit of money because people always love those kind of toys, because since they were hot the year before, if you have a kid that's 3 years old, they're going to want that toy again when they're 4, or if they were 8, they're going to want it again when they're 9, and so on. So if you're looking for something to retail arbitrage, try to find something that is like second generation or closely related to the item that was hot the year before.
That's right.
There's my Bolo.
Yeah. Get it done.
Cocomelon.
You know what that buzzing sounds like?
Huh.
So there's a Star Trek episode, and they go to the old one with Leonard Nimoy and Spock. They go to this like planet that's super advanced, and they're watching this recording. And those of you who watch Star Trek, you know where I'm leaning. So it's in season 3. I think it's like episode 21. I forgot the name of it. So it's whatever. And so there's that zzz, that sound. And what that sound was that the civilization was so advanced that they would take this potion and it'd make them move a lot faster. And so everybody's like stuck in like slow-mo, but the civilization moves so fast that they sound like flies.
Interesting.
It was season 3 of Star Trek. Things get kind of wacky.
Next Generation or
no, old school.
Oh yeah, I never watched those ones.
So
Not my thing.
I'm watching with my 15-year-old son, and it's like, those of you that know, but they're interesting. Let's put it that way. Like, I think a lot of what is on that show probably wouldn't pass today. So, all right, moving on.
Yeah. So my bolo is, I don't know a lot about comic books. It's weird because I used to read comic books a little bit, but comic books, like as a reseller, is not something I'm like into, because it's a really hard market. I feel like if it's like shoes, either you know it or you don't. Like you're in it or you're not. So I have a hard time with comic books. Sometimes I pick up lots of comic books because I know I can make some money off of them, and I've done that recently. But one thing that is easier for me to make money on when it comes to like comic books is like volume compilations of comic books. So sometimes comic books, like, it might be like 12 comic books in like that season, as it were. And then they like release like the next season. That's kind of how it is. And it's like every, month, a new one comes out. So it's like basically a year's worth. So like anywhere from like 10 to 15 comic books. And then after that's done, when they're done with those, so instead of buying them for like $3 to $4 a piece, then at the end, a lot of times they'll like make like a book that has all of those in it. So it's like they're still kind of like comic book. I mean, they're a little bit, it's not hardbound. They're usually softbound. They do have some hardbound ones, but they're a little bit thicker, right? And it's got a lot more pages in it. I like picking those up because if you're at somewhere like a thrift store or even garage sales, where sometimes at thrift stores, like they're wanting to charge 50 cents to $1 per comic book. Mm-hmm. Whereas this volume set, they might still only charge $1 for, right? And originally these things go out for like $24, $30, $29. So you could still sell these for $15, $20. And depending on if it's like a really rare one, you might be able to sell for 30, 40, even more. But for me, a lot of times those are no brainers because you can scan the back to see what they're selling for on eBay. But a comic book, it's like, there's so much involved. What's the condition of it?
I just won't touch them.
Yeah.
There's just so much.
There's so much involved with comic books. But when you've got these compilation ones, it's more like a novel. It's kind of like it's all put together in one thing. And you're not going to have the collector value of it, of like, this is a rare one, it's a misprint or an alternate cover, all of those things that you really have to be in the know in the comic book world. You can kind of just throw that out the window and be like, hey, if I could pick this up for $1, it's a quick 15 to $20, right? So that's why even though I don't do a lot of comic books, I will do the volume sets of comic books, volume 1, volume 2, because those, they sell pretty quick. And a lot of times people are looking to complete a collection, right? Like I mentioned Invincible, the show that was on Amazon Prime. And I thought Omni-Man was like just such an incredible character. And so I was looking at like, oh, like this came out like years and years ago. Like what would it look like for me to buy those comic books? And because there's so many of them, they're so old, it's like to buy them individually, it's almost impossible. But you can buy them in volumes where it's like 10 to 15 of them at a time and you're paying $20, $30 each. And it's like, well, that's a more reasonable way of doing it. So people might be like, I really want to learn what happened in this, time frame of X-Men. So they can buy a few volumes instead of trying to buy hundreds of comic books. So if it's not necessarily the collectors, but just people who want to, read the comic, you can definitely make money with those.
Yeah, agreed. That's great because I never pick up comics for that reason. So, all right. What are you looking forward to, Mike?
So a couple of things. One, we're planning on doing a road trip in December. My wife and I are we're going to visit some family. We're going to go to Texas again. In the past, we did a big road trip where we like pulled our trailer and we're making it a sourcing trip. This time, I don't think we're going to do that. I think we are going to check out some thrift stores in some areas because I'm not saying we're planning on moving necessarily anytime soon, but we are like, as California gets more and more expensive, there's a lot of things that we're not liking being here. And we see, the other parts of the country, it would be a little bit easier for us to make it work, with the amount of money that we make and maybe even with reselling. But having a good reselling area is going to be important to us. So while we're on this road trip, we're definitely going to be, as we're checking out towns, kind of like, if we were to move here, what are the thrift stores like here? Are there a lot of thrift stores? How far are we away from?
That's a good way to scout too.
Yeah. So kind of glancing and figuring it out. Not necessarily a sourcing trip, but like if we were to end up in this town, is there one thrift store in a 50-mile radius? Okay, maybe this isn't the town we should be looking at.
Yeah.
Whereas, hey, this town's got an abundance of thrift stores. There's another town nearby. They've got some thrift stores. Maybe there's a Goodwill Bins nearby. Like those are the things we're going to kind of look at while we're scouting around. Because the other thing too is, what are the prices like? Like I can be like, oh, there's a bunch of thrift stores. We're going to move to this place. And then you get there and it's like, these thrift stores are crazy. Or you can go and then walk into some thrift stores and be like, all right, they seem to be like pretty good price. They got a lot of stuff. The inventory is nice. So it's more of just a scouting, maybe a little bit of sourcing we're not going to pass up on something we're going to make hundreds of dollars on, but we're not going to fill up a trailer. So we're kind of looking forward to that. And then we weren't planning on doing any retail arbitrage this year, really, maybe a little bit. But we're just noticing that like even the toys my son is saying that he wants for Christmas, like they're getting harder and harder to find. And when you find them, they're like resellers selling them for crazy prices. So we're like, maybe we should be picking up some toys to flip. So yeah, that's probably what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
what about you?
So I am picking up the van. Is
the van got any more room than your vehicle?
Oh yeah,
because you've got a pretty good size. You got like a 7-seater, don't you?
Yeah, but I could get maybe 6 like 24 by 18 by 24 boxes for FBA, or like in a van I could get like 10 to 15.
Really? Is the seats come out?
On this one they may not, but I'm gonna see when I show up if they have a cargo van. So the cargo vans are gone. Amazon has them all out here. But here's my thing. The reason why the van is, it saves me so much time, because I had 1 year and I remember having to make 2 trips to the UPS store every time. And I know people are going to say, well, why don't you schedule pickup? Schedule pickup puts you at the mercy of the UPS driver. And I like doing things on my own time. And so the van saves me so much. I'll never forget. I was at this hotel in LA and I had 30 FBA boxes. Like I started like crazy. And in my little hotel room, I'm like packing these huge boxes. And if I had to make 2 trips, oh my goodness. I just wouldn't want to do that. So that's why I like the van and I can make that money back. Now, I am testing things over this next week. If for whatever reason I cannot, like if I find that like the BOLOs like a small, there are all these bunch of small items, I might just cancel it, because the reason last year was my major thing was it was a big item. And I like sourcing larger items because there's less competition.
Because is it a minivan you got?
I have a Honda Pilot.
No, I know you do.
Oh, no, I have a 15-passenger van.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because they're out of cargo vans.
Gotcha. When you said you rented a van, I don't know. I was thinking you got a minivan because I was thinking like 15-passenger van. If you were able to take the seats out, you can definitely get a lot in there. But your car probably could fit a lot. It
can, but trust me.
Trailer.
I know. Okay. All right. Hey, so by the way, I feel terrible. I'm going all in on Amazon. I don't plan on doing much sourcing at all for eBay. I have so much stuff right now, which is kind of a blessing in disguise because I don't have to worry about sourcing to keep my eBay going. And so I'm trusting my helper with more items now. I'm actually dropping off a lot of collectibles with her too, where she's only done clothing and shoes before. Cause I'm hoping eventually I can just drop anything to her and she'll take care of it. So that's been good. And, I'm just, it's the beginning where there's no sleep till December 26th. And so
no sleep till Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe it's December 23.
Maybe that's the next song we do. It just seems to be a parody of
Little Beastie Boys.
Yeah. No sleep till Christmas.
That would be fun. But hey, you know what? It's that time. I'm sure eBay is gonna be popping off eventually. It did for Mike, so I'm sure some of you are seeing those sales. But hey, keep listening, keep going. It's gonna be an incredible Q4. That's what it looks like to me and Mike. I think Mike. Yeah. And just keep hustling. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Late.
Peace.